Rivers is going to have Damian Lillard run very fast out of town. Does he help them win? You're under 500. Aaron Judge helps the Yankees win. You're paying the players $300 million. You better be sure that guy's going to help you get over the hump. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays. Maybe he's a therapist. Did you see Lamar Jackson cry to the referee? No, he didn't. We are back for a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, the Speedster, Speedy Petey, and our executive producer, Mr. Tommy. No, I'm just kidding. Aaron Fishman, and our Sports Minute guy, our Sports Minute, Tommy Scoops. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Go to all and check out all our shows by going to the website, and you can check out the Sports Loudmouth, which airs every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all the shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. I'm flabbergasted today. Today is 9/11. It is a terrible thought. I remember in 2001 when the Twin Towers went down, where I was, and it was a horrible sight. It was a horrible scene. And to see the towers go down and people jumping off the towers, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Many, many people died on this day. And I just want to give a shout out to all the families that lost loved ones and lost important people to their lives. It was a horrible, horrible day. But we see what's going on in the world right now, and we just hope that it's going to get better. So my heart goes out to the families that lost so many people on that day in 2001. Speedy, what's up, man?
Yep, same here. Shout out to all the first responders, all the military, everyone that lost their lives, and all the families of the members that lost their lives on what is the greatest tragedy of my lifetime and one of the biggest ones in American history, that's for sure. And our world has really changed a lot since then throughout those 23 years.
It was horrible. It was a horrible time, and I was in my early 20s, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I was at my friend's house. I woke up, and then his father came up, and that was actually Keith Rooney. And he came right up and he said, are you watching the television? The towers are going down. I say, what towers are going down? He says, the Twin Towers are going down. He pops on the TV, Channel 7, and I see one tower, smoke coming out of it. And all of a sudden, another plane went through the other one. And I was just shocked. I didn't even know that was a plane until I just saw it go through and it exploded. It was just horrible. It was a horrible time. I mean, Tommy, you weren't even alive when that happened. It's horrendous. It was just a bad time. So my heart goes out to the families. It was just, and it's something that we always have to remember because there were so many people that lost their lives on that day. It was just horrible, and it brought us together as a country. So hopefully after the election, it'll bring us back together again. So I'm not a politician, and I don't get into politics on this show, but our country needs to form together and come together again. So hopefully everything gets better in the world, and we're here to see it. So, we have a great show lined up for you guys at 9 o'clock. We'll be talking to Team USA Baseball assistant coach Butch Chafin. He will be joining us. He's been on our show before. He is funny, and he knows his baseball. Team USA, he knows a lot about all these youngsters that are coming up right now in the MLB and future superstars in the MLB. So Butch will be joining us a little bit later at 9 o'clock.
He's a big Yankee fan, so.
Oh, yeah. Huge Yankee fan. All right. Let's get into it. We got a lot to get into, and we will do our picks at the end of the show, we'll go through every single game. We'll give you our thoughts on where we think the games are going to fall. On the Pat McAfee show, Aaron Rodgers told the Jets fans not to jump off the bandwagon. And if you do jump off, not to come back. Mike Greenberg criticized that statement, saying he shouldn't tell Jet fans what to do, being he's only been there for one full game. He added that Rodgers can't move anymore and is afraid to be hit after his Achilles injury last year. Rodgers said he felt good after Monday's game, saying he only took 2 shots and was only sacked once. Greenberg added that Nathaniel Hackett and Robert Saleh had no idea what they were doing in the game. I've said that before. He ended the rant by telling Rodgers to go back to Green Bay and stop telling Jet fans how to feel. Mike Greenberg, okay? This is Mike Greenberg, who's the biggest Jet fan and a guy that absolutely loved when Aaron Rodgers was traded to the New York Jets. Did Aaron Rodgers have a good game? Did Rodgers actually show up to the game? I think he did. Now, his numbers would tell you he didn't. But again, he was only on the field for 21 minutes to San Francisco's 38 minutes. To play your first game in San Francisco against the NFC champions doesn't really benefit the New York Jets. There is no excuse heading out to Tennessee and losing that game against Will Levis. Aaron Rodgers is going to have to play better. The Jets defense are going to have to stop the run of the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans do not have unbelievable offensive tackle. They don't have that. They don't have Trent Williams. They don't have an anchor like that. What I do know right now is the Jets need to show up. They need to put up points really, really early in the game. And I understand why fans are saying what they're saying on social media, because Aaron Rodgers, not only on Hard Knocks last year and then going down after 4 plays, this year going to all these spectacular events and showing his face and going to the UFC and going to boxing matches in Madison Square Garden and Brooklyn. He's everywhere. And when he's here in New York and he's showing up to all these different events and he speaks and people are interviewing him, he's pretty much telling you that the Jets, watch out for the Jets. The Jets are going to be one of the elite teams in the NFL. And him coming out on Pat McAfee and saying, don't jump off the bandwagon, I don't think any natural Jet fan is already jumping off the bandwagon. I just think the Jet fans are shocked on the display of defense throughout the game against San Francisco. You played a 3rd-string running back who ran 148 yards in the game. It was one of the most yards the Jets have ever given up in a first game of a season. It's probably one of the most yards the Jets have given up in the last 10 years in a game. The Jets are not a very good run-stopping team. Last year, they were 30th. They were ranked 30th in the league. You would have thought that going into the offseason, the Jets were going to fix this, and they didn't. Clark is back. He's a better run-stopping safety. He couldn't stop it, or maybe Robert Saleh wasn't bringing up the safeties. He didn't want to change his defense. It was a big mistake. The Jets did not play well in the second half of the game. And whatever happened with Sauce Gardner, whatever was going on with the New York Jets and Sauce Gardner, stuff needs to come out. I mean, you can't keep it in within because fans are talking about it. Everybody is talking about it. Nobody's opening their mouth telling anybody what happened. When Sauce Gardner was taken out in the second quarter, San Francisco scored a touchdown. They took the lead. It was 13-7 when Sauce Gardner was taken out of the game. They were up 7-6. Sauce Gardner was taken out. They scored a touchdown. Now, again, one player isn't going to change the defense. It's not, because teams are going to throw away from Sauce. But again, having him on the field, it would have changed different audibles. Maybe C.J. Mosley would have shifted the defense. Maybe blitzed on the left side because you have a guy that can play one-on-one as good as Sauce Gardner. Now, as far as Pat McAfee and his show and Aaron Rodgers showing up on that show, I think that Aaron Rodgers got to stop going on the Pat McAfee show. Because every time he speaks, it pisses people off, especially Jet fans. Now, Mike Greenberg, he's on ESPN. He has his own thoughts. We all know he's Mr. Jet. He was so excited when Aaron Rodgers came here. Now, all of a sudden, he thinks that Aaron Rodgers is slow. He's not the same player. He needs to shut up. And watch, if Aaron Rodgers puts up 350 yards and 3 touchdowns on Sunday afternoon, Mike Greenberg will be biting his tongue. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be the same Aaron Rodgers he was in Green Bay. But he hasn't played for a year and really a year and 2 months. He hasn't played at all. It's going to take a while for him to get his rhythm back. He's also playing with new wide receivers. He's not playing with Devontae Adams. He's playing with Garrett Wilson. He didn't get a chance to play with Garrett Wilson last year. He only had Garrett Wilson on the field for 4 plays. And again, Mike Williams was barely on the field. Where was Mike Williams? The Jets paid him $11 million in the offseason for 1 year. Why isn't he on the field? Now, Allen Lazard looked like the wide receiver the Jets brought in and they paid. Last year, he didn't show up. Aaron Rodgers is on the field this year. And by the way, Aaron Rodgers didn't throw the final touchdown of the game. It was Tyrod Taylor. But guess who caught it? Allen Lazard. Now, Allen Lazard was attacked by many Jet fans in the offseason. Many wanted him out. The Jets overpaid for him. The only reason why they brought him in was because of Aaron Rodgers, to draw Aaron Rodgers to come here. Allen Lazard showed up on Monday Night Football. I will say half the players didn't. And the defense that was supposed to be so explosive didn't show up. Jermaine Johnson, at the end of the game, he didn't make any excuses. But when he did speak, he made it seem like it wasn't his fault. It absolutely was his fault. When you're expected to take over for Hassan Reddick, and the Jets decided not to pay Hassan Reddick early this season and let him sit out and see what you have with Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald, both those guys didn't show up. They had no pass rush in the game. And the offensive line actually did play well. I said it yesterday. They played fantastic. They gave Aaron Rodgers time against a very good pass rush. Nick Bosa is one of the best in the league. He was Defensive Player of the Year quite a few times. He's a good player. They have a good defense. That offensive line showed up. Smith was healthy. Mosley was healthy. Nobody got hurt on that offensive line in game number 1. That's a good sign, ladies and gentlemen. But Aaron Rodgers should not be speaking on Pat McAfee's show during the season. He shouldn't. He shouldn't. Because if he says the wrong thing, you're going to have Mike Greenberg. You're going to have Jet fans, Craig Carton, all these other Jet fans out there, or so-called Jet fans, come out and attack him. And I'm going to say this. Mike Greenberg should zipper his mouth too. I like Mike. Mike's a nice guy. I met him a couple of times. Very funny, good, and fantastic sports fan. He loves his Jets. It's his favorite team. He's been following them for years, as bad as they have been. But coming out and saying these things about Aaron Rodgers, the same guy that you wanted the Jets to do anything to bring him in. You wanted him so very bad. And now all of a sudden, because of one game, you say he's slow, he can't move in the pocket anymore, he's scared to get hit, all this crap. If I was Aaron Rodgers, I'd reach out to Mike Greenberg and tell him to shut the hell up. I'm not happy if I'm hearing Mike Greenberg speak, especially how big of a Jet fan he is. But I'm also not going to kiss Aaron Rodgers' ass. I have my own opinion. Did I think Aaron Rodgers played bad in the game? Not really. He was out there for 21 minutes. 21 minutes. He threw a touchdown pass. He took two touchdowns down the field. Obviously, Breece Hall ran it in for one of the touchdowns, but he took it down 72 yards. His touchdown to Allen Lazard was a really good pass. It's going to take him time to get his rhythm back. Do I think that Aaron Rodgers could be elite again? I do. I really do believe that Aaron Rodgers has the arm strength and has the ability, because he's a smart quarterback, to be an elite quarterback again. I don't know if he's a top 3 quarterback, but he could be top 5, top 6 quarterback right now in the NFL. He could throw 4,000 yards this year. He's got to make sure that his passes are either in spots where the players can catch it. He shouldn't be throwing it into spots where he thinks that these guys are going to go out there and get it, because it isn't Devontae Adams. And we don't know if these players can handle that kind of pressure, especially being as young as they are.
Yeah, especially when you look at Aaron Rodgers with the long-term health as well. So far, so good with this offensive line. But you're trying to force him to do too much. That's going to make it very hard for Aaron Rodgers to get to that level that he wants to do. And he's confident he can get to that level, and he's confident in his own accuracy on his throws. 17 for 23 is a very good accuracy metric when it comes to the completion percentage. He was good at his reads, and like you said, he barely got hit. He got hit twice in the entire game. One was by an interior rusher. He was just able to get the ball away. The other one was the only sack of the game the 49ers had. That's good showing for the Jets offensive line, which is a new unit too. 3 new players on it. Sometimes it takes time for them to mesh, and they did very well against one of the best pass rushers in the league.
If Aaron Rodgers figures out what this offense can do, because this offensive line is going to hold up. If they can stay healthy this year, this offense will be able to make plays because the offensive line is going to be able to protect them. He has got 2 Pro Bowl players on that line. Elijah Vera Tucker is also, he could be an all-pro player when healthy. Tidman could be an all-pro player. He could be one of the best centers in the league. You're talking about a possible opportunity where you have 3 all-pro players on one roster, on one offensive line, and 2 of them are very, very young. So there is no excuse to this team, and this team can't put up numbers. This team should be averaging between 21 and 30 points a game. Again, he needs to figure out how to get his rhythm back. It's going to take a little while. He hasn't been on the field for over a year. But when he does, there's no doubt in my mind that Aaron Rodgers is way better than any of the quarterbacks the Jets have had in the last 5 years.
Not only that, you also look at if you have the ball as much as the Jets did, or as little as the Jets did, only about 21 and a half minutes against that level of a defense, and you still put up pretty good numbers like that. Like, there's not many quarterbacks that could do that kind of thing. And Aaron Rodgers is still going to have that kind of accuracy. He's still going to have that kind of judgment. There's a reason we were talking about it a few weeks ago about him having the greatest touchdown interception ratio in NFL history by almost 1. Like, it's crazy. That doesn't happen overnight. That comes with decision making. Now, as far as the statement goes, yeah, he's going to be an outspoken guy. Jets fans, anyone knew that was going to come when Aaron Rodgers was being traded for. But Mike Greenberg, if you want him to go back to Green Bay, what's the other option? Like,
he is afraid. There's no question that he's afraid. When you tear your Achilles and go down as quick as you did last year, when everybody expected you to play a full season and take the Jets to the playoffs, of course he's afraid. But when he figures things out and he believes and trusts in his players, especially the offensive line, that they're going to be able to protect him, he's not going to be afraid anymore. He's going to be able to move inside and out of the pocket, and he's going to be able to take chances moving outside of the pocket and making plays with his legs. But right now, he's not going to do that because he still needs to know if this offensive line is going to hold up and protect him, something the offensive line could not do last year. So, of course, he's afraid, Mike. Of course he is. Now, again, the New York Jets have to keep this player and Aaron Rodgers quiet. He doesn't need to go on the Pat McAfee show and speak about certain things that are going on in the locker room or even certain things that are going on with him. He needs to keep, and if he's going to go on Pat McAfee's show, which he probably will because he's getting paid for it, then he needs to keep it at a bare minimum. I would not spit out anything that's going to get him in trouble because he did say something that pissed people off. When you come out and say, stop jumping off the bandwagon, that's going to piss the Jet fans off because Jet fans have never jumped off the bandwagon.
No,
because if they did, the Jet fans still pack out MetLife Stadium. The Jets sell out a lot of games. In the beginning of the season, especially last year, the Jets are always packing out the stadium. And they're going to, on Thursday Night Football against the New England Patriots, trust me, it's going to be packed. 60, 70,000 people are going to be there watching the Jets murder the New England Patriots, we hope. We hope, because the Bengals couldn't do it. But to me, Aaron Rodgers needs to stay away from certain shows. And again, he's not going to stay away from the Pat McAfee show. So go on there, have some fun, talk about the election, talk about what's the stuff he smokes? Ayahuasca. And talk about that. Talk about your life. Don't talk about the Jets because Jet fans don't want to hear it. And Jet fans take it to the heart. I will say this about Jet fans, and this is the truth. And and anybody that's listening to us right now that are Jet fans, you know this more than anybody. The Jet fans are very loyal. If you look at what the Jets have put out over the last 10 seasons, and knowing that the Jets, out of all the teams in the NFL, have had the longest drought to making the playoffs, and that's over like 13, 14 years, you would know that if they're that bad, most fans wouldn't even go to games. Most fans would even wear their jerseys or wear their hats because they're afraid to be laughed at. Jet fans are not like that. Jet fans go out. They go out in public. I know I do. I wear my Jets hats. I'm not afraid of being a Jet fan. I don't go out there and say, well, I'm a radio show host and I'm a Jet fan, but I'm a Jet fan. I'm an honest Jet fan. And I'll tell you this again. I like the Eagles too. I'm a diehard Jet fan, but I also root on the Eagles. I'm not going to hide away from that. People are going to say, why are you like the Eagles? I grew up a Donovan McNabb fan. So, of course, I'm going to like the Eagles. I've followed them for all those years. I liked Terrell Owens when he went over there, but I always loved Donovan McNabb. So even as a Jet fan, because the Jets sucked so bad when I was younger, when the Jets never made the playoffs, I needed to root for somebody. I rooted for the Eagles. It just happens to be that way. And everybody says, well, then you're a front runner. How am I a front runner?
No,
I'm a Jet
runner.
I am a Jet fan. I am a Jet fan. I wear Jet. Do you see me wear Eagle hats on this show? Do you? You never see me wear Eagle hats.
Not only that, the Eagles weren't really like a powerhouse. They were a good team.
I don't buy Eagle hats. Now, Eagle hats. But I will do this, and I've said this before. I am thinking about buying a Saquon Barkley Eagles jersey. Why? Because I like Saquon. He grew up a Jet fan. He's from this area. And, again, he's an Eagle. So if he went to the Jets, I'd be wearing a Saquon Barkley Jets jersey. But, again, I go back to this whole Aaron Rodgers thing with Mike Greenberg. Mike, you wanted him here. Mike, you knew he was going to draw a lot of media and a lot of craziness for the media to either, if they're winning, they're going to say a lot of great things. And if they're losing, they're going to beat him up. So you knew this was going to happen. So again, you're going to attack him because of one game, and you're going to, if he loses against Tennessee and he doesn't play well, then you have every right to attack him.
Yeah.
Every right to attack him. Because Will Levis should not beat the New York Jets. No. Will Levis should not put up 25, 30 points against the New York Jets. If he does that, yeah, everybody has a right. Anybody, any Jet fan, any analyst has a right to make fun of the New York Jets. Because even though it's in Tennessee and people still expect Tennessee to be a pretty good team this year because of the weapons they have on the field, nevertheless, you know that the Jets are way better of a team than Tennessee.
Yeah, and the reason for Robert Saleh to not be able to actually coach like an actual coach for one, too. You saw the Titans be able
It's not Robert Saleh. It's Bambi Saleh.
Oh, that's right.
Bambi.
Which, by the way, Errol will definitely wear his Bambi Saleh shirt.
I am getting shirts made. I am getting shirts made. I promise you guys, before the season's end, I'm going to go out there and I am going to actually make Bambi Saleh shirts. And I'm gonna go to a Jets practice and I'm gonna hand it out. People are gonna be like, "What the hell is this?" But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get like 30 shirts made. I'm gonna hand it out to everybody. And I know people are gonna take it. It's free. Who wouldn't want to wear that? I would love to throw it to Robert Saleh because it'll piss him off.
Yeah,
it would piss him off if I threw him a Bambi Saleh shirt. But he's Bambi.
Yep. And a message for Bambi on your defensive game plan. And if you look at what Tennessee did last week, the Titans ran the ball very efficiently.
That's a great picture,
against the Chicago Bears. You just struggled against the run, allowing Jordan Mason to run for 147 yards on you. Maybe have a better game plan to stop the run and trust your secondary to go one-on-one with these Titans wide receivers. Now, granted, Ridley and Hopkins are good players. I'm not saying they're not, but Hopkins is not 100% healthy, and Calvin Ridley's just learning a new scheme. Trust your guys, play more man coverage or single coverage, and then stop the run. Figure that out. Do be a coach.
I've been saying this, and they should have done that in the second half against the San Francisco 49ers. You have 3 quality corners, probably the best corner in the NFL in Sauce Gardner. And then you have Michael Carter, who was a top 15 corner for the last 2 years at the slot. And then you have DJ Reed, who's been a top 10 corner throughout the league in the last 2 years. If you have those kind of weapons on that side of the field, why don't you use those weapons? And you don't have to play. You don't have to play with a safety going under. You take those safeties, bring them up, and let Allen, let those guys, let Clark try to stop the run, clog up the middle, and make them become one-dimensional. That's what the Jets should be doing. And I don't understand it. Why is Robert Saleh doing this? Because he doesn't like to change his defense. He doesn't like to blitz. He doesn't like to do that. Well, guess what, Robert, or A.K. Bambi? You need to figure out what works and what doesn't. That's what makes a good coach. And something something tells me he doesn't understand what it is to be a good coach.
Nope.
Because if he did, the Jets, even though they probably wouldn't have won that game on Monday Night Football, they would have been closer to winning the game by some of the dumb mistakes he made as a defensive-minded coach.
Yep. One thing the Jets need to do is guard the flats, definitely. Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears are both more outside runners. Guard the flats. You don't need to blitz eccentrically, Bambi, but at least have your guys stay disciplined and guard the flats. Trust your corners in man coverage. I know you don't like to do that. I don't know you like to have Sauce shadow the number one guy all the time, but you have to try it at some point against a team that ran the ball very efficiently last week in the Titans.
Play zone. If it works for you, play zone. Do something. If it's not working man to man, and he does this all the time. He puts Sauce on the best guy. Look what he did to Ayuk. So he stopped Ayuk, but if you stop Ayuk, you still have Deebo Samuel, you still have Kittle, you still have a running game, which, by the way, this running back that nobody even heard of until that night, and somehow puts up 48 yards in the game and scores 2 touchdowns. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. This isn't Christian McCaffrey. Could you imagine if Christian McCaffrey played in that game? Do you know how many? He probably would have had 3 or 4 touchdowns in the game and 180 yards. Okay, that's embarrassing. And yes, Jet fans are pissed off. They shouldn't be pissed off at the offense. The offense didn't do anything. They weren't even on the field. It wasn't the offense's fault. It was the defense. They had, how many third down stops did they have in that game? 1? They had 1. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, great job, Bambi Sala, leaving your smaller corners on a bigger-bodied receiver in Juwan Jennings.
You had a top 5, top 6 defense in the NFL last year, and they had problems on third downs last year. They did, but they were the best red zone team in the NFL,
right?
And they were one of the best when it came to throwing the ball and stopping the throw.
And they didn't have allow a 300-yard passer last year.
No. But here's the problem that they had last year. They couldn't stop the run. Mm-hmm. They could not stop the run. And knowing that in the offseason, why did the Jets clean that up? Why didn't the Jets say, you know what, we need to find somebody that's going to clog up the middle and do one thing, stop the run? And you have a guy that can stop the run, and Quentin Williams. But here's the problem. If you're not getting a pass rush from anybody on the outside, you need it from the inside. And that's what Quentin Williams was trying to do on Monday Night Football, but he was getting triple teamed.
Yeah, and they move Quentin to the edge sometimes too, which helped a little bit in the first half, but not much in the second.
It didn't make any sense. None of it. None of the play calls, especially defensively. It didn't make any sense. Now, obviously, the Jets have one of the better defensive coordinators right now in football, who's probably going to be looking to get a coaching job at the end of the season. But if this happens again against the Tennessee Titans, against Will Levis, I mean, not only are the Jets going to be embarrassed on national television on Sunday afternoon, but then you're going to question where did this defense go? What happened to this defense in the offseason? Nothing really changed. They added, 2 or 3 pieces to this defense. And I understand they lost Bryce Huff. And I understand, but you brought in Hassan Reddick. So get that guy signed. Do something. At least if you get pressure from Hassan Reddick, then you got guys like Quentin Williams. You have guys like that can clog the middle and concentrate on clogging the middle and stopping the run.
Yep. Hassan Reddick's versatility too. Like, you could play him everywhere. Like, he can roam around. Like, Robert Saleh cannot be stubborn with his defense like he likes to be if you have somebody like that.
I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, has anybody heard anything with Hassan Reddick? I know Hassan Reddick is sitting in a driver's seat now because he knows the Jets need him. And if the Jets lose this game, there's no doubt in my mind Joe Douglas will give him what he wants. He's going to have to. Because if they can't get a pass rush in a game like this, Tennessee's offensive line's okay. It's not a good offensive line. It's really not. So if they can't get a pass rush against this team, there's a problem. There is a huge problem the Jets are going to have. And you do not want to go 4 days later on Thursday Night Football against the New England Patriots as they're licking their lips at MetLife Stadium.
Yep. Who also have a horrible offensive line.
It doesn't matter. If you can't get a pass rush against Tennessee, what makes you think you're going to get a pass rush against New England?
Yeah.
I mean, it's embarrassing. And I'm not saying San Francisco's offensive line is world beating. They're not. No. They have an all-world offensive tackle. The rest of that line, they started a rookie.
Yeah, but they're still Pro Bowlers compared to Tennessee.
They started a rookie at the guard position. That's what they did.
Who let him badly outmatch against Javon Kinlaw, who, by the way, should know your 49ers.
I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. And again, I understand that Mike Greenberg is upset on the play of Aaron Rodgers in game number 1, but you can't really attack Aaron Rodgers. He wasn't on the field long enough to really attack him. If he was on the field for 38 minutes like San Francisco and he didn't throw close to 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, then I understand why Mike Greenberg is upset. But Aaron Rodgers, when he was on the field, the 2 or 3 times that he was on the field and he was efficient, he played pretty well. He did throw an interception, which banged off one of his players, I think Garrett Wilson's hands.
Right, and Lenore made a nice play. That wasn't really even on Garrett Wilson either.
That shouldn't have been an interception. Yeah. That shouldn't have been an interception. Besides that, what did Aaron Rodgers do bad? Honestly, what did he do bad that you can go out there and say, hey, he looks old, he's scared, he's this, he's that? I would say he was scared because he didn't know what this offensive line was going to do in front of him. I think he knows that this offensive line is going to be pretty good this year if they stay healthy. Knowing that, I expect in Tennessee on Sunday afternoon, Aaron Rodgers to air the ball out and trust in his players, and I want to see more Mike Williams. I want to see more Conklin. I have no idea. They did not use any tight end in that game. They did not. Conklin, I don't think he had one catch in the game.
I don't remember one.
I don't think Conklin, Rucker didn't have any catches in the game. They didn't use any tight end. It was really Alan Lazar when it came to throwing it to him and Garrett Wilson. Those were the only 2 guys that I remember catching the ball. Everybody else and Breece Hall running the ball. And yeah, he made a mistake. I don't expect Breece Hall to drop the ball anymore or not that much this year. So I expect more confidence. I think the Jets offensive line needs to figure out how to open up lanes for Breece Hall to burst through it. And that's something that I think they need to work on throughout this season and throughout the next couple of weeks. And if they do that, I think the Jets are going to be fine. I really do. I believe the Jets should beat Tennessee and they should beat New England. And then they have Minnesota. They really could win all 3 of those games. Minnesota's going to be very interesting. Sam Darnold, obviously, playing the Jets again. I know he's going to want to put up big numbers. Justin Jefferson, obviously, one-on-one with Sauce Gardner. That's going to be a fun matchup. But, I mean, Minnesota, I still think is going to be a pretty good team. They'll be a borderline playoff team. So the Jets might have problems with them. But these 2 teams coming up, Tennessee and New England, they should be better than. So if they don't play well and Aaron Rodgers doesn't show up in this game, then these bandwagon Jet fans that he says are jumping off, or even Mike Greenberg jumping off the whole Aaron Rodgers train, then they have every reason to do that because that is embarrassing when you're playing 2 teams that you're much better than.
Wonder what team Mike Greenberg will switch to at that point.
Yeah, let's bring Fish in. I definitely want to hear Fish's opinion on this as well because right now I know Fish isn't a Jet fan, but obviously Mike Greenberg coming out and spitting out this crap, it's confusing because this is the guy that wanted Aaron Rodgers here. And now all of a sudden, after 1 full game, he doesn't think that it's the same Aaron Rodgers. He's pretty much saying, get rid of him. That's what it sounds like. Get rid of him. Who's going to fill in for him? Tyrod Taylor? You going to bet on that? Oh, please. Let me jump off a plank right now.
You got to be out of your mind if you want to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. I know you said Lazard had a good game, and he did. He had those 2 touchdowns. Nobody expected him to do that after what he did last year. He was a nobody. He couldn't get open. And I'm going to tell you right now, he really wasn't all that open last night, Monday night either. The reason why he had all those plays is because Aaron Rodgers knows so much about the game of football. There was one pass down the sideline that Lazard didn't even see. It was in his hands. His hands were just there, and the ball went right to his hands. As a Giants fan, I'm just standing there. I'm like, oh, my God. That I didn't know that's possible because my quarterback throws it at guys' feet. Then the next play that's over their head, to the left, to the right. This guy can put it on the back's shoulder. The guy doesn't even have to turn around. It's like on him like glue. It was unbelievable. There were what I thought from a coach's perspective. I saw the Jets exploit some weak coverage on Garrett Wilson on the first drive. I showed you had 3 consecutive big plays, and then they bracketed him all over the field. And after that, they had to force it into guys. Luckily, Rodgers knows how to throw it to Lazard, but nobody else was really open. That's really what it was. Mike Williams, maybe he's Kenny Golladay, and he doesn't have it anymore when he lost a step. That could be what's going on. They couldn't even play him.
Again, if you're an Aaron Rodgers fan, and Aaron Rodgers should not be going on Pat McAfee's show and saying, don't jump off the bandwagon yet, because I don't think the Jet fans are going to do that. But I do believe that Jet fans know football. They've watched enough bad football before. And if you've seen enough bad football, you know that what you saw with Aaron Rodgers for the little bit he was on the field, he looked pretty damn good. I thought he looked pretty good. Again, he needs to figure out the rhythm of the game again. When he does figure that out, I think you're going to see him throw the ball down the field more. You're going to see him trust his wide receivers more. He trusts Alan Lazard because they know each other. He doesn't know. Garrett Wilson and him don't have that full connection yet. When they figure things out, trust me, Garrett Wilson is one of the best route runners in all of football. When they figure things out, it's going to be fun to watch. They're going to be very explosive. Did you see Aaron Rodgers' face on the first couple of plays that he had to Garrett Wilson and the face that he made? It looked like he was just like shocked that he just completely beat them inside in the slot. So if you believe in the players around you, you're going to throw the ball in places that you believe the players are going to be at. And I believe that when Aaron Rodgers feels that he has a connection with these guys, it's going to be so explosive and so fun to watch. I still believe Aaron Rodgers has the touch. He hasn't missed any beat when it comes to his arm strength. He is scared to move inside and out of the pocket. So is Tua. So is half these quarterbacks. Russell Wilson's scared to move inside and out of the pocket now because of his injury. Even guys like Joe Burrow. You think Joe Burrow is believing that this offensive line is going to protect him throughout the game? Not a chance in hell. But when he has to make something and he has to make a play out of nothing, he's going to do whatever it takes to help his team win. So I believe Aaron Rodgers will do the same. And I think this offensive line is much better than it's been in a very, very long time.
Rodgers is just such a master of his craft that it's not even, Errol, I don't even know if it's the two of them have to get on the same page. Rodgers just has to know what it looks like when these guys run routes and what their body language is going to be. If these guys can be consistent, he'll figure it out real quick. He's just so good. I'll say this. He throws the pick on the play where he doesn't really get his feet underneath him because he had to move off his spot. That's my only concern as a Jets fan. If you face a defense that's going to get through that O-line, he might not be able to step into the throw coming off the Achilles the same way. We saw Kirk Cousins really not be able to step into a couple of throws coming off the Achilles in his game against a great defense. That's really the only thing I'd be worried about because everything else looked just like old-fashioned Aaron Rodgers. Just he doesn't know these guys yet.
No,
nope. Don't jump off the bandwagon. I think the bigger problem is he's talking about bandwagon fans. Who cares about bandwagon fans? Those are the fake fans. This is what I'm talking about here. Like you just came here to jump on a bandwagon of a bunch of guys that also just came here, mostly, which hasn't really happened in a successful way.
If you don't want bandwagon fans, don't go to these events. Don't show your face at these events.
Or force yourself to be traded to the Chargers.
That's what I'm saying. I understand he wants to be out in the public, but when he was in Green Bay, he was never out and about. He was going to Walmart and hanging out in Walmart in Green Bay. He wasn't going out to these UFC events and these boxing matches and New York Knicks games and Ranger games and Yankee games. But he's doing it because you're in New York. So, of course, you're going to be attacked. If need be, if you're not playing at the top of your game, trust me, Aaron, you have no idea what the New York fans are going to do to you. AK, they were booing Aaron Judge early in the season when he wasn't hitting the ball. So, and Aaron Judge is one of the best hitters in baseball, one of the best athletes we've seen here in New York in a very, very long time. And they're booing him off the field. So, again, and it's not just New York fans. There are Boston fans. There are LA fans. If they don't like what you're doing, you're getting paid a lot of money. Well, you're going to be booed if you're not playing well. On a Minnesota morning show, Vikings pass rusher Jonathan Greenard said that he actually feels bad for Daniel Jones. He said it felt good to be on the winning side of the game, but he and his teammates felt bad for what he had to deal with the fans. Jones was booed and heckled both during the game and outside of MetLife Stadium after the game. NFL reporter Dove Kleiman tweeted that Daniel Jones has gone almost a year without throwing a touchdown pass. Micah Parsons took shots at his tweet saying that people forget Jones missed half the season suffering an ACL in week 9 last season. Jones was 22 for 42 passing for 186 yards, 2 interceptions, and a 44.3 passer rating in week 1 against the Vikings. I agree completely. A lot of Giant fans took shots at Daniel Jones. It wasn't just Daniel Jones. Let me ask you guys a question. For all the money that the Giants invested into their offensive line and bringing in and trading for this unbelievable linebacker, a top 5 linebacker who comes from Carolina and has nothing to do with the Giants organization, and you don't bring in your biggest weapon, you don't sign your biggest weapon in Saquon Barkley, who put up 3 touchdowns in game number 1 in Brazil. That to me tells me you're not backing up your quarterback. You're not giving your quarterback the best chance to win. Saquon already came out and said many, many times he wanted to be a Giant for life. But the Giants would not give him the money that he wanted. So what did he do? He went out there, him and his agent went out there and found a team that was willing to pay him what he wanted. And you're going to blame Daniel Jones for that? How about give him weapons? I don't want to hear about Wan'Dale Robinson or Darius Slayton or Malik Neighbors having 6 catches for 58, 60 yards. Give me a real superstar right now that's an elite player at his position. And maybe that game would have been closer on Sunday. Now, they might have not won, but if Saquon Barkley played in that game, I don't care what any Giant fan says. Any Giant fan says, if Saquon Barkley played in that game, I would probably bet you he would have had 90 to 100 yards and close to 2 touchdowns. Motor had a good game. He had 10 carries for 38 yards. That's a good game. Motor is not Saquon Barkley. Singletary is not even close to the player, Saquon Barkley. On that Eagles team, Saquon Barkley will be up for Offensive Player of the Year. No question. If he stays healthy this year, he will be up for Offensive Player of the Year. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 15, 16 touchdowns, like Mostert numbers. 15 to 18 touchdowns this year, probably with about 1,700, 1,800 scrimmage yards, running and catching. He will be the best weapon, even with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. He will be the best offensive weapon the Eagles have. And why couldn't the Giants give him the money? He wasn't asking for $100 million. They paid a linebacker that had nothing to do with the organization. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to be good. He didn't look good in game number 1 against an offensive line that's really not that good. Dexter Lawrence played well, but he was the only one that actually showed up to the game. And Kayvon Thibodeau is an absolute bust. He is not as good a player as everybody thinks he is. When he plays against bad offensive lines, he shows up. He gets 2.5 sacks, 2 sacks. He reminds me, and I'm not saying he's not anywhere close to the guy that I'm going to speak about, J.J. Watt. When I watched J.J. Watt, he would play against great offensive lines, and he wouldn't even get 1 sack. He wouldn't even get close to the quarterback. And then he would play against subpar or even really bad offensive lines, and he would have 3 sacks in the game. He finished the season with 17, 18 sacks, 20 sacks, and you're like, oh, this guy's a beast. He is, I'm going to say this right now, T.J. Watt is so much better than J.J., it's beyond me. TJ is way better than JJ. And it's crazy to say because JJ is a Hall of Famer. TJ is going to be an all-world. TJ could go down as one of the greatest pass rushers to ever play this game when he's done. If you're hearing this from players that played against Daniel Jones and feeling bad for Daniel Jones, it says a lot about what the fans were doing to him. It's despicable. I watched it. He was walking out of the stadium and people were like booing him. And then they were like, could I have $1 million? You're not worth $1 million. Could I have this? Could I have that? You're a loser. You're a loser. Boo. Don't come back. We don't want to see you anymore. You suck. Could you imagine being a quarterback, the starting quarterback of your team, and he's walking away? He had a bad game. He's already emotional. And every single fan, when you're walking out, are waiting for you to boo you and call you names. How would you feel? Would you like it? I wouldn't like it. That takes away confidence. You don't want to do that to your quarterback. You're going against Washington this week. You should beat Washington. If the defense actually shows up, I expect the Giants to win that game. If Daniel Jones puts up 280 yards and 2 touchdowns, Giant fans are still going to boo him. They're not going to be satisfied with that. They want him to throw 350 yards, and they want him to run 60 yards and get 2 touchdowns and dominate the game. Then they'll start believing again. He's not that type of quarterback. He is not Aaron Rodgers, even though some WFAN, analysts believe that he was at one point, which I'm not going to mention any names. I've said it enough on this show. You cannot believe that Daniel Jones is going to be an elite quarterback. He's not. He is a good quarterback. He could be a top 15 quarterback. Can you win with a top 15 quarterback? I can tell you teams that can and have. You have to show up to the game. You have to stand behind your players. As a Jet fan, no matter how bad Zach Wilson played last year, no matter how bad over the years Ryan Fitzpatrick and Mark Sanchez and Sam Darnold and Geno Smith, and I could go on, Christian Hackenberg, and I can name more and more quarterbacks over the years. I stood behind my team. I stood behind my quarterback, no matter what. Even if I knew they sucked. I'm not going to boo him. I'm not going to hate him. I'm not going to tell him if I'm in front of him that he sucks. I'm going to cheer for him. I'm going to push that I believe. I'm going to push my team to believe in that quarterback to be successful and make the plays that he needs to make to win football games. And right now, the Giants have no confidence in Daniel Jones. You could see it in Brian Dable's face at the press conference. Joe Shane, we saw it on Hard Knocks. Come on, guys. You didn't see it on Hard Knocks when he was trying to figure out how to move up to get one of these other quarterbacks? If I was Daniel Jones, I would have said, you know what? Screw you. Screw you. Trade me. I don't want to be here. And it's true. I talked to a bunch of Giant fans that are friends of mine, and they all still think that Daniel Jones could be a quality quarterback for their team. They feel bad for him. You know what they said to me? He's lost the fans. He needs to go somewhere else, just like Ryan Tannehill. He goes somewhere else. He could succeed somewhere else. I believe he still has the ability to be a pretty decent quarterback in this league, and I believe that too. I just don't think he can do it with the Giants anymore. The Giant fans have given up on him, and all the things that we have seen on social media is despicable. All the things, all these GIFs or whatever the hell they call them, GIFs, and all these different, things that they have posted about this kid. I don't care who he's dating. He could be dating Kay. He could be dating Pamela Anderson. He could be dating some super hot model. I don't give a crap. I really don't care what he's doing on his private life. All I care about is if he shows up on Sunday, Monday, or Thursday and plays his game. Win or lose, he's playing his game.
Yeah, and you also look at the play calling that you saw. I think it was very dry. It looked like it was preseason-esque play calling.
He made mistakes. There's no question he looked bad.
No, I think a lot of it is on him. I think more of it is still a little more of it is on Dable because it looked like he was a preseason play calling. The Giants' offense in 2022, as not statistically great as it was passing the ball, they still had motion. They still had creativity. They still had concepts. You're going to all of a sudden 2 years later just call a game like it's a preseason game. The Vikings, yeah, their defense isn't overly talented, but Brian Flores is still a very good defensive coach, and they have some good young talent that he's going to make work. And the Giants had such a dry game plan. And Anthony, I don't know where you're seeing Devin Singletary playing well. Receiving, he did okay, but rushing the ball, he had 2 carries over 5 yards. That was it. You're going to say he played well? And Fish, we were talking about it yesterday. I think the offensive line held their own for the most part. That they didn't dominate, but I think they played well enough where Singletary could have gotten more carries for over 5 yards. He got 2 of them the whole game. That's not going to win you football games when your receiving core and your rest of your team is not playing well around you. And Brian Dable, I just thought it was just too dry of play calling.
I think so. Just as someone with experience of having a crap quarterback, when you don't trust your quarterback, your play calling is a lot more vanilla. And I think that's what you see. I really don't think he trusts him at all. I think you see why you can't trust him. He's very it seems like he's very literal. I was listening to a few different people saying that he's one of these types of quarterbacks that he's amazing in the meeting room because on X's and O's on a chalkboard, when the pieces aren't moving, guess what? It all makes sense to him. But once you still have guys move around, it's like he's a deer in the headlights, another Bambi out there. Just not knowing what's going on. He runs into sacks. He has escapable pockets he doesn't escape from. He doesn't use his speed when he should. And then he stares down guys. He acts like a second-year quarterback in year 6.
Hmm.
And that's what we're dealing with right now. Daboll has no faith in him. And it's real sad. It's obvious now that they really should have tried harder to trade up for quarterback. If they couldn't get it, then maybe they should have maneuvered to get one of these other guys who are starting right now. They could have traded back and gotten Bo Nix. They could have traded back and
You think Bo Nix is better than Daniel Jones? Come on, guys. It's ridiculous. Give him some weapons. Give him some time. He stepped into the pocket. How many times did he try to run through the pocket and him get sacked? Because they're
all right, I'll show it to you because he doesn't know how to run out of a pocket. He had massive holes to run through. In both of these situations, he steps up when he shouldn't. The first one, he has the pocket.
You're telling me he shouldn't have stepped up into that pocket? You're telling me he shouldn't have stepped into that pocket?
He should have gotten rid of it a little bit earlier. Now, that one was a little bit tougher. Look at this one, though. Watch this. Watch this. Look at the pocket. It's blocked perfectly.
Who's open?
He's got the screen pass right to the top of the screen. He's got a lead blocker for the screen.
You have two guys waiting for one of these guys to catch the ball. And you see
look,
him.
that's that. I'll take this every time. You got Andrew Thomas on a linebacker.
Come on. Are you kidding me? There was nobody open.
That's 20 yards. Look at it to the left.
No way. Come on. Let it go. Let it go. Let the pass go.
So watch this. He runs straight ahead instead of out to the right.
Let it go. We'll see
what happens. There's all that room out to the right.
All that room.
Right back here. He steps up, and I'll freeze it right in the frame where he walks up. Mm-hmm. This is ridiculous from him not to run. He should be throwing to the left earlier or running out to the right now. If he runs out to the right, he gets at least to the 35-yard line. At least. And he decides to do the one thing you can't do late in the pocket. He just tries to run straight.
You have seconds. You don't even have seconds to throw that ball or even make that decision.
You're not wrong. Well, he doesn't have to step up. There's nothing forcing him to step up.
He's all about his legs. That's one of his strengths. If he sees the pocket collapse, he's going to run through it. That's what he's done over the last couple of years, and he's been very good at it and very successful at doing that. But guess what? The offensive line did not play well like you think they did. They didn't. Maybe you're saying the tackles with PFF. What I saw in the game is the interior absolutely collapsed all game long. All game long, it collapsed. And to me, if you have a quarterback that can move inside and out of the pocket and use his legs, because he's actually pretty fast when he gets out of the pocket, well, then you have to use that ability when he has an opportunity to do it. They did not do that because Daboll's play calling was horrible. It was horrible. Where's Kafka? I don't understand. Why is he calling the plays? Just concentrate on the whole team. Don't concentrate on the offensive side of the ball. Control the whole team. This has been a problem for Robert Saleh or Bambi. That's why, because he can't control the whole team. He knows defenses. And if Robert Saleh thought, and I'm just speaking the truth, if Robert Saleh knew that this defense wasn't doing what it was supposed to do in the first half, he should have taken over the defense in the second half and made sure they were clogging up the seams. They did not, and that's why the Jets did not even come close to winning the game. And the same thing with the Giants. The Giants are better than the Commanders this weekend. If they don't show up, and it's not, and I'm so sick and tired of hearing all these Daniel Jones complaints. If they don't show up as a team, you're gonna have your fingers pointed to the whole team. All right, let's hear it, Scoops. Your thoughts?
I mean, why is it an ongoing theme right now? Why is it an ongoing thing that so many people are ready to throw so many people under the bus? You were just talking about what Greeny, he was so ready to throw Aaron Rodgers under the bus, and now we have here Daniel Jones. Now all the fans, I do agree completely with the sense that I think that he does need more weapons because look at the game that he had. I mean, yes, it was a horrible game for the Giants, horrible game for Daniel Jones and that offensive line. Yes, I do agree with you, Fish, in the sense that there was a couple like that one with the where he took the sack instead of just dumping it off. I do think that it could have easily been like you said, it's 20 yards right there. That's more yardage right there. That's more closer to the goal line, closer to at least a field goal, closer to at least getting this like a easier, closer game. But it is a lot different watching it from our perspective, only for the sense that these are huge guys running toward him.
And you're not a quarterback. You don't know what he's thinking in his head. And by the way, even if he made the right play, do you think the Giants as an offense would have figured that out? The offense looks horrendous.
I was just going to say that too.
It looks horrendous. Your number 2 guy is Darius Slayton. Because they don't believe in Jalen Hyatt. We saw that during the game. They did not believe in Jalen Hyatt. So that only tells me your number 2 guy is who? Darius Slayton. So Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton. We were talking about the best trios in the NFL. You want to know what the Giants trio is right now? Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Darius Slayton. Wonderful, wonderful weapons the Giants have. Are you kidding me?
Wan'Dale put up over 70 on PFF though this week. That's dark green, buddy.
Stop with this Wan'Dale Robinson crap. Stop it. The guy can't even stay on the field. You really gonna sell that to the Giant fans? Wan'Dale Robinson? Come on.
That's what it's gotten to, Errol. I'm honestly, I might be more worried about the defense. The defense right now is not helping Daniel Jones to put him in situations where he could be successful. We're not getting turnovers. It's only one game, but you haven't seen anything yet that makes you feel comfortable that they have a clue what they're doing.
You have a beast of a man on one side of the ball.
Right. Yeah, we got one guy,
Lawrence,
and the two guy, and the guy we spent $25 million.
I already told you it was a big mistake. I already said that to Giant fans.
Two pressures. Look, he's going against a great left tackle in Darisaw.
Stop.
But he's one of the best in the game.
Brian Burns just got paid a lot of money. You dug deep, you gave up draft stock, and you paid this guy. If he's not going to show up every single week, this guy should have had like 11 tackles. He had 5 tackles. This guy's making 27, 28 million a year as a linebacker. He's the second highest paid linebacker in all of the NFL? What are they, nuts? You're going to pay a guy like this? I'm sorry. I would have given it to Saquon. Saquon at least would have showed up in this game and put up points. If you cannot get to Jaden Daniels and put pressure on Jaden Daniels, Brian Burns, the Giants are going to be ridiculed. Because this guy should be an 8, 9, even 10 sack guy this year and be that leader that the Giants are paying. And I just don't see it. I don't see it.
It is Bobby Johnson we get to face next week. I have a feeling that they're going to do better than they did against the Vikings. Is it going to be enough is a whole nother story. They can't be possibly as bad. Thibodeau has got to eat some humble pie. The way that he acted after the game, not wanting to answer questions, deflecting, it's just not what you need. He's not coming into his own yet, at least in the maturity level that, which is what people worry about him coming out of the draft.
That did this? Remember the last Giant that did this? Attacked the fans and said something to the press? Who was the last guy to do that? Evan Neal was the first person in the last 2 years that opened his mouth, attacked the fans, and said something to the press, which pissed everybody off. And where's Evan Neal right now?
On the bench.
On the bench.
Riding the bench.
Riding the bench. And I'm going to tell you this, right? If Kayvon Thibodeau, and by the way, they were drafted in the same draft in the same first round in the top 10. If Kayvon Thibodeau is going to open his mouth and speak his piece, he better show up on the field. And if he doesn't show up on the field, he'll be riding the bench just like his old buddy is. Okay? I'm telling you right now, Kayvon Thibodeau better show up in this game. Burns better show up in this game. We all know Dexter Lawrence will show up to this game. He will show up to this game. And I've been very impressed with Dexter Lawrence. Very impressed. Because not only does he show up to the game, you can see he's the leader on the field. He's out there. He's speaking to the young players. He's talking to the corners. During the break, you saw him coming. He's talking to the young corners over there. I love what Dexter Lawrence brings to the game. He brings that tempo. He brings that personality. And when he's out there, he's going to cause havoc in the middle. So incredible. I think he's the second best defensive tackle in all of football. Even better than Quentin Williams. It's crazy to think that.
Yeah, he surpassed Quentin Williams last year.
Yeah, he's better than Quentin Williams.
I think he's playing at a Hall of Fame level. He's playing the nose way
that.
more often. Listen, I'm telling you, if you look at his stats, no nose is playing like him. He has stats of a guy like Chris Jones. But Chris Jones plays more outside. Nose tackles are often doubled, way more often than anything else. They're usually a 2-down player. You can get away with a guy like, remember Snacks Harrison? He was a great 2-down player. He was an all-pro, just playing first and second down primarily and third and short in goal line situations. This guy is a pass rusher from that point and is getting as much pass rush as you see from 3 techniques. That's huge stuff. He had the same amount of pressures as Aaron Donald last year.
I think you're
playing
inside, getting doubled.
Remember the stat I showed you, Fish, like 10% more.
I think you're getting.
I'm serious with the stats, though.
I think you're going a little too fast right now. I think you're
Oh no,
speeding.
you're
in the fast
absolutely
lane
right. It's
now.
going to take many more years of him doing this.
5,
But I'll
6 years
right
of
now,
dominance like this, yes, he will be a Hall of Fame candidate, no question. But he's going to have to do that in a 7, 8 year span. I mean, Aaron Donald did it at a dominant level. Again, Dexter Lawrence has not been a first team All Pro player. When he becomes that, and he does that at least 2 or 3 times, then we can start talking about the Hall of Fame. But he's not that yet. But he's still very young. Dexter Lawrence is 23, 24 years old. He's got a tremendous amount of time to become that player that a lot of people believe he's slowly becoming. And I think he's special. I really do. And he's a good guy. I've seen him on different shows. I never met him, but I've seen him on different shows. He's got a bright smile, and he's a leader. He's just a leader on the field, and you can see that.